Hey y'all, this is Paul from Indianapolis. I'm here again with just another video to share some cards that I've added to my collection, and you may be able to get a hint of what that might be connected and related to in front of you. But before I step into that and go there, I do want to give a shout out to a guy that I've gotten to know, is becoming a friend, Matt at Straight Race Cards. Check him out, subscribe, like, comment, just check out his material. I'm in Indianapolis, he's in Dallas. That's what's fun about this hobby, is that we can connect and check out each other's videos, and we've connected at multiple levels. I first saw that he had a Baylor shirt on, and my wife graduated from Baylor, so we started with that connection. Then we got together and chatted virtually, and realized that we also both love the 1956 Top Set. We both have a love for Al Kaline and appreciation for Al Kaline, who's actually from Baltimore. And we also have a connection about something bigger than ourselves, and this fun hobby of collecting is just our relationship with God and what that looks like within the hobby. So give them a shout out, just check them out. It's Straight Race Cards and Matt. So he had a video earlier this month, which I had been thinking on to just about purpose and projects within collecting. So I encourage you to check that out. But just trying to collect with purpose, because I know for me, it can be so hard. I can just be so distracted by getting different cards, players. I see what other people have, and I'm like, ooh, I want that player or that set or that card. And so it's just really hard to focus. And so for me, it has helped to just have some projects, and I have multiple projects going on at a time. But today I just want to talk about my Baltimore Orioles project from their best era, from 66 to 71. And I really just focused on a few players within that era. This is my first round of just developing my collection of the Orioles from 66 to 71. And I started with the biggest names, and I will continue to add to those, and I'll add other players along the way. But I've done some previous videos just about why I love the Orioles, my connection, my roots, my origins, and my origins go to my grandmother. I call her Granny. She's the one who introduced and connected me with the Orioles, and this was her old mug that she had that I was able to take from her place after she passed. And so this just reminds me of her, connects me to the Orioles and to her. And so I got connected to the Orioles to her, and that's my origin story. Whenever I'd go up and visit her for 1 week of summer, I'd watch Orioles games with her every night of the week. And once she would take me to an Orioles game. And so grew up going to Memorial Stadium and then a little bit of Camden Yards. But she is why I'm an Orioles fan. And so I just want to give credit to her. And also, sorry, I got a little bit of a cough and just raspy voice. I've got a cough drop in my mouth as a teacher. But what's really helped me to become more connected to the Orioles is from reading this book, Black and Blue, over here. It talks about the 1966 World Series. It talks about the Dodgers and the Orioles. But within the Dodgers, first of all, I was drawn to the Orioles because of Brooks Robinson. I've become a greater Frank Robinson fan through this. And just the culture of the clubhouse that Brooks Robinson developed. And he based and built it on respect. And Frank Robinson credited Brooks with that being the foundation of the Orioles clubhouse. And they had just such a fun clubhouse. They had a lot of fun, a lot of pranks happening. I went into that in one of the previous videos, but they also had the kangaroo court after each win. They would sit there afterwards, and Frank Robinson was the judge, and they just talked about and just had fun with the game, rehashing it, mistakes, good moments. And I think that really was key to their success, that throughout those 6 years, that they were able to it helped ease the tension of World Series moments, of big game moments, just to be able to relax with humor, to have fun, to loosen themselves up. And so that humor was really important. So the foundation of respect that was created and led by Brooks and Frank, and then just the fun that they had together. And the third one I want to talk about is actually related to just their clubhouse and how mature it was. They had just some great clubhouse guys. And they had 9 players who went on to become managers. And if you can think of any others that I miss here, feel free to. But I'm going to go through not 9 players who became managers, but 9 players who became coaches in the major leagues. And 4 of those became managers. I mean, first of all, is Frank Robinson became the first African-American manager in 1975. Second of all, Elrod Hendricks, who was one of my grandmother's favorite players. And he was around the organization as a coach for 28 years as the bullpen coach. Davey Johnson, who went on to win a World Series with the New York Mets. Don Baylor, who became a manager starting with the Colorado Rockies in 1993. You also had Johnny Oates, who was a manager for the Orioles briefly in 1991 for a couple of years. You also had Charlie Lau, who was with the Orioles for a few years, and he was a hitting instructor with the Royals and worked with George Brett, Hal McRae, Amos Otis, and had a key impact on those guys. Also Andy Etchebarren, who worked briefly with the Orioles and then in their minor league system. Also there was Terry Crawley, who was on staff with the 83 World Series champion Orioles. And then Paul Blair, who was known for his defense in the outfield. He played a very shallow center field and was able to go back quickly and go deep, kind of reminded people of Willie Mays. And he worked with outfielders and with the Yankees and Orioles and at various other levels. So they had 9 former players go on to be major league coaches. 4 of those were managers, and I thought it was interesting that 4 of those coaches were catchers. And so, to me, that just stands out to me about this clubhouse, the maturity they had, as well as all the fun and good times they had. So what I'm going to do now is show you some cards, show you the 5 cards I picked up. But before then, I picked up a book, Brooks. I recommend it. It was a great read. Felt like I learned a lot about Brooks Robinson, his story. So I finished reading that, and that's my first pickup of this project. And this is my first project. And it was a small project. It went from December of last year and finished up this month. And I was just able to add 5 cards to my collection, 2 in December and 3 over the last 3 months. So hopefully I'll figure out how to put these cards out, and I'll just slide them around and we'll see how this goes. I feel like it's going to be a Tetris project, and hopefully I don't have any collapse of cards. The first card I added is my favorite player, Brooks Robinson. I showed this in a previous video. I just love the pose. I love the color. And for me and my cards, I want a card that looks clear, that the image is clear and clean. That's what's most important for me, and this card has that. So the 62 Topps Brooks Robinson was the first card I added, so I'll just leave that there. And the next card for me I got through Greg Moore's cards was Boog Powell, 1966 Topps Boog Powell. And I love how clean this is. I love the color. It pops. It's clean. And so this Boog Powell was, the second card that I added, and I will move that back there. The third card I added, which actually got in a trade at my local card store. I traded some cards that had less value and connection to me, and I got this 1970 Topps Boog Powell. I really like this card because it looks great. It's clean. This is his MVP year. 1970 was an MVP year and a World Series championship year for the Orioles for Boog Powell. So I wanted to get that card for those reasons. So the 66 Powell was a World Series winning champion year for the Orioles. The 70 Topps Boog Powell is likewise the same. And so I wanted to add these cards to my collection. And I added 2 more. And I added one of their second manager of this era, Earl Weaver. And I've already shown this card before in 1978 Topps. I love the double image. I love the vintage picture, an image of Earl Weaver, and then just the newer one of him smiling, which happened at times, but he's also known for his rants and tirades at the umpires. He also got in good arguments with Rick Dempsey and other players, and so he definitely had that element to him. But I did want to get this because he is so much a part of the Orioles' success and legacy. Even though I do struggle still a bit with how he related to the umpires, how he related to some of his players, I've come to respect and appreciate a lot that he did off the field and in the clubhouse and who he was. There's actually a great biography that recently just came out called The Last Great Manager, written by John Miller, and I watched an interview with him, and he did a great job. Like, it actually makes me want to read the story, the book, and understand him and appreciate the complexity of who he is. And just his roots to St. Louis is also fascinating to me. So there's Earl Weaver. And then my last pickup was actually a gift given to me from a friend, Will. And this is actually a modern card, Frank Robinson. I showed this in my last video, but it has a relic, and it's vintage, and the fact that it has part of his pants. Don't know what to think about that, but I've got a part of Frank Robinson's pants as a relic there. And my friend Will collected and had that as Frank was first a Cincinnati Reds, and he's from Cincinnati, but he was willing to share that with me. But I like that it was able to bookend it with Frank and Brooks, which to me is the face of the Orioles. That even though they grew up and had 2 very different experiences and from different sides of the tracks, they had a great friendship and respect for one another, and that trickled down to the rest of the players and the culture of the clubhouse and dugout. And just a little segue, or a little just sidebar real quick, I saw a video on Instagram of Ken Griffey Jr. giving a tribute to Jay Buhner, which kind of reminded me a bit of just Brooks and Frank. And I'll put that down in the description. And it was powerful, it was moving. And Ken Griffey Jr. talks about how different they were and acknowledges that. But then he goes into just a really powerful moment of just sharing how he felt and feels towards Jay Buhner. And it was just really cool. So I will find that video again, and I will post that. And that was just more of a modern day example of what Brooks and Frank created. But as with any project, there's a little open door. I do want to add one more card. I do want to add 70 or 71 Elrod Hendricks. My grandmother loved Ellie. She called him Ellie. And he was there for 28 years. He was great in the Baltimore community. I will do a video about him sometime. But Earl Weaver brought him in 1968. He was one of the first moves. He brought Elrod over and started platooning him with Andy Etchebarren as a catcher. And Weaver actually managed him down in Puerto Rico during the Winter League and must have been impressed with him, brought him in soon after he was manager, and was such a focal point that he came on to be and continued to be a coach for under Earl in 78 as a player coach. And so I do want to add Elrod Hendricks to this group here. I think my next wave, and I don't know when it'll be, my next round, I want to add a 1960 and 1973 Brooks Robinson. I want to add the 73 because that was the first vintage card I ever had. And I also love that it's one of the only fielding images of Brooks. I want to add the 1967 Frank Robinson. That's kind of, to me, one of his first cards. I know the 66 is an Orioles card, but the 67 has him in an Orioles uniform. I like the pose and everything. So next wave, those are definitely some cards I want to add. I also want to add the 65, or is it 66? I think it's 66. Paul Blair, Dave Johnson, rookie Stars card for the Orioles. They were both important and key pieces to that Orioles team, and I would like to add that card as well. Well, that's enough for me today. I'd keep on talking, but thanks for your time. I really appreciate it. I just hope you have a great rest of your day. Stay curious about the players you like, the cards you like, and the stories that are behind the cards. Thank you very much. Bye.